and here's the reason for the video, is build a dream that is motivation enough to get you out of a job that doesn't suck enough. Because, like Matt said, if you don't focus on your future plan, if you are not planning to build your dream, you will be hired to build someone else's dream. Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. Why you might not reach financial freedom and why you are stuck in that job that you don't like. This is actually a topic that I'm springing on my two friends, Matt the Lumberjack Landlord and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time. The three of us are investors who purchase buy and hold real estate to reach financial freedom so that we can escape the rat race and live the lives that we want to, not the lives that we have to. But there is this paradox that is the reason why most people don't reach financial freedom. And without knowing what this paradox is yet, I bet these two are going to come up with some examples that are keeping you trapped. This paradox is called the region beta paradox. And it's a very simple concept to explain, but then we can relate it to real estate. We can relate it to financial freedom. The region beta paradox is something like, not a science guy, so I'm going to come close. If a store is 3 blocks away, you might walk. If a store is a mile away, you're probably going to drive. So ironically, you will get to a store that is a mile away faster than you will get to a store that's 3 blocks away, and you won't have to carry your stuff back. This is much like real estate and investing. So I'll give an example so you guys understand what I mean, how it's related to this, and then I want to see if you guys can think of some. Me and Matt actually subscribe to this concept, and I'm not sure, I think, Mike, you do too. Our money that we're saving for the next investment property is in a low interest saving account at a bank. Because if we had it making 4%, the motivation to take that out and put it in a property that's going to get a much better return, get appreciation on multiples of what we invest, principal pay down, and all of the tax benefits is less. Yeah. We are more likely to want to put that money to work if it is in a crappy savings account. And the other thing is, there is kind of a sense of security and safety in getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. And your boss doesn't actually hit you or yell at you too much publicly.
Too much.
So you feel safe. Why go through all of the time, energy, and effort of taking your money and putting it to work so that that job becomes optional? The mediocrity of the level of hatred that you have towards your job is the reason you're still there. So this is the region beta paradox, that if something doesn't suck enough, you might not put the energy into improving it. So we'll start with you, Mike. You've been investing about 20 years. You've been retired now for over 4 years, I think.
Yeah, 5.
Just came back from a 1 month, can't call it a vacation.
No, trip.
Trip, yes. I have a couple of those planned myself. I was planning on Portugal, but some rules have changed, so I'm not sure if I'm doing that now. But
sweet Lord,
what do you think is keeping people not investing and stuck in their job because it doesn't suck enough?
I think the biggest thing for folks with this, first off, this is why you're a teacher, and frankly, Matt and I aren't, because you have the ability to take a complex subject of something I've never heard of and make it so elegant. So kudos to you for that superpower. For me, it's the instant gratification is the first thing that stuck out to me, right? When you buy something, you get that dopamine hit and it feels good. And, if you put it on your charge card, you don't, you pay it off little by little. And, when you actually do the math, or by God, if you're doing buy now, pay later, I mean, Jesus, you're getting the thing and you're paying it off over time, but nobody goes back and realizes, well, if I just would have saved or not done that, I could have bought it 3 times or 4 times. I mean, these are astronomical. Credit card rates are 25% today, but it just doesn't suck enough because they amortize it over this period and you just pay this little bit. And the consumerism is, first off, what built the economy, right? So second, I'm a creature of habits, right? I study people and how people interact with the economy. So you can count on it. The greatest example of this is the stimmy checks that went out. And we have videos on this, right? Those stimulus checks, right? The first one, which came out when we were basically on lockdown, for most people went right to savings. right? You can look at the charts and see it, right? Savings went to 16% or 13 or whatever it was. The second time stimmy checks came out, people started to buy stuff. The third one that came out, people went nuts. And if you happen to be on my Instagram page, you will know that one of the things Olivia and I did when California was shut down for an ungodly amount of months is we would walk around a local mall and I would take pictures of Prada and Gucci and Hermes and all of these other things. And there's lines out the door right after the stimmy checks came out. It was that dopamine hit. It was basically, hey, I've got free money and I'm going to go buy that Chanel or that Gucci or that whatever purse. And I'm picking on purses. I'm sure it was shoes and watches and car. It's all of that. But you guys get the point. I predicted that because it's so predictable. Consumers should have saved it. They should have created a rainy day. They should have paid off credit card debt. And now we're on the other side of it. And there's no more checks coming unless it's student loans, because every month that's not back in. That's a stimmy check. Right? It's just not called that. We still have stimulus going on, folks. It's called the student loan program, student debt. Mm-hmm. As long as those folks aren't making payment, that money can be used elsewhere. That is a stimulus check. Now they're addicted. Did you flip on? You want to kill inflation? Turn on student loans. Inflation will go negative in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
My goodness. Mm-hmm. So, it makes consumerism, that dopamine hit, we are conditioned to buy, not save. This even gets worse, right? For me, I have seen people do what the three of us did. They get 4 or 5 years in where that trickle becomes a flow. And then they do something stupid where that turns the flow back into a trickle. Right? The things that make the three of us different is we went trickle, flow, raging river before we did anything stupid. Most people don't wait.
And both Matt and I are at the raging river point, and we're still eating off the dollar menu and not buying $300,000 RVs.
That's true.
Broken. He's said it many times. But Mike, no, I remember your live updates when you were tracking the stimulus checks and what they were being spent on. And where this applies is, if working sucked enough and somebody said, here's stimulus, here's unemployment, extra unemployment, extended unemployment, why don't you take this time and develop a side hustle? This is the point in history that it's the easiest to develop something online where you can do it from your house, even during a lockdown. And most people thought, my bills are paid. I might have forbearance.
Oh, not only my bills are paid, but they got told I don't have to pay these other ones.
Exactly. That was
insane. How many people didn't pay rent or mortgages? And it's like, shit, I got all this money left over. What am I going to do with it?
And then, as Matt is going to point out, what happens when that switch gets flipped back on? Oh. But life doesn't suck enough so that when they were given those options, they spent it.
Yeah.
So now, Matt, same question. What is keeping people trapped?
A lack of confidence in their future plan. It's because too often people need to do it in order to then fill in the gap to make it work. And so they cut twice, measure once, and then wonder why it doesn't fit and why it was painful to make it fit. And so
done that.
Not poking fun either, but
yeah, it's okay. I pay people to do that.
But the thing is that we look at it, right? And we say, Dion, I know that Dion lived on what his properties provided him for income for quite some time before he shut off the other spigot.
Yeah.
Do exactly the same thing. The money that the income, the money that the job brings in, it just goes into an account. I don't spend it. I don't need it. But the funny thing is like, we look at what that number is because it's still been over 20 years and I've never taken a dime and spent a dime of my real estate income. So I just have to do a quick reconciliation of this is how much money we spent this year or this month. And will the rental income support that? Thankfully, yes. And so I think often people are scared to do it and make that big jump because there's uncertainty, but there's a way to gain confidence in the plan. And that is do it before you quit. You have to build it out. You don't just go, I'm going to start a company tomorrow. There's a reason why there's plenty of people that do side hustles that then the side hustle becomes bigger than the income of your job. That's what happened with real estate for me. For me, it was just the longer I can delay gratification, the longer I can delay making money on the property business, the more I can reinvest, the bigger it can become, and the more cash it can throw off. So that was all I was doing in the last 7 years or 8 years that I worked that I didn't have to. All I did was dramatically increase my standard of living for when I do finally walk away. That's what I did. I dramatically increased my standard of living for the next 50 years of my life by delaying it just a few more.
No, I totally agree. And I did spend the last 4 years making sure that I could do anything I wanted to. So trip to Thailand, trip to Colombia, scuba in Florida, and not touch a penny from work.
Yeah.
To have that confidence. And so the idea here is if your job sucks enough, you're going to be motivated to get out. So if your job doesn't suck enough, what you need to do, and here's the reason for the video, is build a dream that is motivation enough to get you out of a job that doesn't suck enough. Because like Matt said, if you don't focus on your future plan, if you are not planning to build your dream, you will be hired to build someone else's dream. Thank you both for this. I appreciate it. This is actually going to be the topic that I teach at the Robin Hood Resort at the Christian and Cody multifamily strategy, which comes out the same weekend that this video did. If somebody wants to reach out with questions on how to actually get out of their job that might not suck enough, Matt, how can they find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and on Instagram. I am not here to convince you, only here to teach you that if landlording is your plan, I do that pretty good.
Nice.
Well,
words are hard.
Words are hard.
And Zuber, how can they find you?
One rental at a time. Again, YouTube, Instagram, website, all that stuff. And if you want to understand how to find a good deal or have insurance not to do a bad deal, as Matt has educated me, you can do that with my program, How to Get Started One Rental at a Time.
Awesome. Thank you both. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.